Hey, you might be on the registry. Satrina, are you eating off the floor? Poopy, you ain't gotta eat off the floor. I thought I cleaned all them up. Why are you eating off the floor, Poopy? That's nasty. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here and you feel like you got a little bit of that common sense that's not so common, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you don't, common sense is a disease that is highly contagious. So if you just hit that like or subscribe button, you will catch it, I promise. Now, today on my channel, we're going to be talking about parental rights and father rights here in Arizona. But before we get any deeper, remember, I don't have any law degree and I don't have any law training, so don't come for me. But before we get deeper, first and foremost, my name is Key and this is What's the Key?
For me, break for me, break the body for me.
Now, y'all, we have Zah back over here. Zah, y'all say hi back there, Zah. Carisha started to die in water.
God, please, no! No!
Okay, someone told me I could put her in water, so I put her in water, and then I'll put her picture here. Baby, I did a little bit of Google and a little bit of research. She was being deprived of oxygen, so she is going back in soil. See the picture here. All right, and when Carisha gets back up there, we'll put her back on the video. But I gotta point out Zah. Look at this on Zah. Now, them leaves, when I last took Zah off this video, were slightly yellow. I put Zah in front of a mirror. Why Zah kill off them leaves? They said they not like us. And the rest of them said they got to go. Okay, so Zah went and killed them off in a matter of 2 weeks, but it's looking beautiful, nice and handsome. But that's enough of that. Let's get into the video. As always, if you see me looking to the right, I'm looking at my notes. And any bell you're hearing is my cat City doing kitty things. Now, the Parental Bill of Rights is looking to be amended in Arizona. And they're only adding in a couple things. But after looking at it, I was like, this is a nice thing to go over. And plus, the father's rights recently on February 7th just had a new little win for fathers to help gain the paternity rights. So I thought this would be a good bill to go over. Now, this act is amending section 1-602, and we're going to go over that entire section. So where I found this information was from the Center for Arizona Policy, and they are advocates for parental rights. So they partnered with the Arizona legislator back in 2010 to come up with the Parental Bill of Rights, which is what I'm reading out right now. So in the section before, in section 1-601, is it protects the parents' rights. It says the liberty of parents to direct the upbringing, education, healthcare, and mental health of their children is a fundamental right. This state, any political division of this state, or any other government entity shall not infringe on these rights without demonstrating that the compelling government interest as applied to the child involved is one of the highest order, is narrowly tailored, and is not otherwise served by less restrictive means. Okay, so this is in the point where they're protecting the child from abuse. That is what that second part is doing. Now, section 602. The Parent Bill of Rights. Governmental interference is restricted, okay, unless they have some type of proof. All parental rights are exclusively reserved to a parent of a minor child without obstruction of interference from the state, any political subdivision of this state, any other government entity, or any other institution, including the right to direct the education of the minor child. All rights of parents identified in Title 15, including right to access and review all records relating to the minor child. And remember, if y'all remember on our transgender outing video, that was a law that was put in place for a lot of parents for schools that they did not like, because they feel like that is what outed the youth, is having access to all that records. But like I said in that video, you can't just not allow any parent to have access to their children's records just because there's a possibility of one being outed, or a couple being outed. The right to direct the moral or religious training of the minor child. Me personally, when I become a parent, I want my child to explore all. I might become shocked by what they choose to choose, but overall, I just don't feel like you should force religion on the child. Because I would really like to know a percentage of adults that actually stay with the same religion or spirituality that was forced. City is scratching right now. Forced to them by their parents.
I need an answer ASAP.
Not, just introduced to them, taught to them, etc., like forced to them on their parents to see if they're still doing it now. Because I lived in the state of Utah, and a lot of people hit them ages late 20s and 30s and are no longer Mormon or LDS. So I wonder why.
Damn bitch.
Now this is one of the 2 changes that I saw that they have so far in this bill. Remember, it was just introduced, I believe, on February 4th. So they've only had 2 minute little changes. So the original part said the right to make all health care decisions for the minor child, including the rights to the ones in certain sections of the law. Now they added including mental health decisions. All right. That has been added into the Parental Bill of Rights. And as a mental health professional, I can say a lot of kids have failed because their parents had the ability to control their mental health care.
I said what I said.
You should just be happy that your child is talking to somebody, even if it's not you. You know how people are on social media, they want to know everything that's going on now with the celebrity, Some of the people have that saying that's just like that, all up in the gossip, put that onto their children. So they expect to know everything, every little detail, especially because they're living under their house, they're paying all the rules, blah, blah, blah. And you doing that in itself could be the reason why the child is depressed and can't talk to anybody. But I feel like when it comes to healthcare and mental health for minors, there has to be some checks and balances with parents. I'm sorry. Y'all remember back to my Utah video. Look at the Utah, I believe it was the Utah child abuse video. I'll correct it if I'm wrong. But in that video, they were saying that if a parent chose to use their religion to heal a child's health, as opposed to going to a hospital when the child does become bad and stuff like that, it ends up at a hospital because, maybe the child went to daycare, somebody on the streets, they were out playing, somebody other than the parents was with the child, and it was like, oh my God, it took them to a hospital, it still can't be counted as child abuse.
Fuck. Oh my.
And I don't like that. But you go look at my details more in that video. I don't like that, okay? So when it comes to mental and healthcare for a child, I always feel like there needs to be checks and balances. I don't feel, but the bill, the right before that allowed them to push the religious and moral views on a child. I don't think that should be the end all. I don't think that should be the child's only form of care. They call it parental rights, but it should be more of a parental privilege. So, and then with the whole rights of bringing the moral and up, so you can make that child racist. You can make that child misogynistic. You can have that child be just seeing things such as physically harming people as right. Everybody's morals aren't necessarily the morals that benefit the rest of society. So, not saying that y'all parents can't parent on your own, but there needs to be checks and balances. I feel like if a kid goes to school and says some that's just off, the teacher should have a right to be able to say something about it and the parent be like asked about it. Not just, well, that's just my moral belief. He doesn't need to sit by the black kids and he doesn't have to respect them. You see what I'm saying? But overall, because when I'm thinking of, I can't even say it's minute situations because we're in America. It is majority for a lot of people. Gratefully, there's a lot of kids that end up growing up like, you don't make sense. Your morals aren't moraling for me. And then you got them reporting their parents like them January people. Got reported by their own family members. But I don't want my child's only moral training to come from me. I want, maybe they learn something from school, they learn something from coaches, their aunties, their uncles, their grandmas. It takes a village to raise a child. The right to request, access, and review all written and electronic medical records of minor children unless otherwise prohibited by law or unless the parent is the subject of investigation of a crime committed against the minor child and a law enforcement official requests that the information not be released. No problem. The right to consent in writing before a biometric scan of the child is made. Yeah. Just scanning my goddamn goddamn child. The right to consent in writing. And my thing is, well, how often was that happening? Because if it comes in the parents' bill, we all just out here scanning children. The right to consent in writing before any record of the minor's child's blood or something. Deoxyribonucleic acid? Editing Key will tell you more about that. Hey y'all, Editing Key. If she had just took 2 seconds and used context clues, I didn't even need to look it up. It's DNA. It means DNA. Back to it. Is created, stored, or shared, okay, except for is required by section 36-694 or before any genetic testing is conducted on the minor child, unless authorized pursuant or court order is in place. The right to consent in writing before the state of its political subdivisions makes a video or voice recording of the minor child, as the video or voice recording is made during a part of the court proceeding by a law enforcement officers during or as part of law enforcement investigation, during as part of the interview in a criminal or child safety services investigation, or to be used solely for any of the following. And yes, I can't even remember which video it was where I said, yeah, this is going to protect the teachers from recording students in school and making content off of them. Y'all can't tell me all them TikTok videos have written consent from parents to be on their public platform making $1 off their child. So the other things that it could be used for is safety demonstrations, including the maintenance of order and discipline in the common areas of a school or pupil transportation videos. Oh, I guess so if they're just recording the students in general and not really zooming in on the child, it's just for a video. Okay, that makes sense. A purpose related to legitimate academic or extracurricular activities. My thing is, why would they need to be recorded doing the extracurricular activity and things that are legitimate activity, academic or extracurricular? Okay, maybe we're talking about competitions and them going off to like debate club, through debate competitions and speech and etc. that they'll be recorded. Okay, that makes a little bit, okay, I get it. A purpose related to regular classroom instruction. Security or surveillance of buildings or grounds, a photo identification card. So those are all the times that the youth can be recorded and or taking a picture, video, audio, taking a picture of, and not have to have the parents written consent to law enforcement, and then those things to do solely with school. Have the right to be notified promptly if an employee of this state, any political subdivision of this state, any other government entity, or any other institution suspects that a criminal offense other than a parent, unless the incident has first been reported to law enforcement and notifying the parent would impede a law enforcement or child safety services investigation. Okay? Now, what I just said does not create any new obligation for school districts and charter schools to report misconduct between students at school, such as fighting or aggressive play that is routinely addressed as a student disciplinary matter by the school. Like this, the schools would notify them anyway, but I guess it's just the promptly notify. The schools can just keep their same procedure. Just say, don't take anything out of place. We already know y'all report. Y'all can keep doing it how y'all doing it. Maybe that's just what they're saying. Like, don't go around and thinking y'all got to start changing laws because maybe it's not reported promptly, or they don't know to the end of the day, or something like that, or they don't make calls. They send, just different methods of communication that schools may use. They also have the right to obtain information about child safety services. So they're saying with that case, because y'all know right above we just said that if police don't want to release it, they don't have to release it, especially if it's against that parent. They can request it, but it's not during the investigation, but most likely after. They could probably still have all that documents, which, it's their right. Or in the case that maybe it's the other parent, and then now that parent can obtain things for child safety investigations and etc. Or maybe it was something that happened at a school or another event and it didn't even involve the parent at all, so they had to throw that in there. This section does not authorize or allow a parent to engage in conduct that is unlawful or to abuse or neglect in child violation of laws of this state. This section does not prohibit courts, law enforcement officers, or employees of a government agency responsible for child welfare from acting in their official capacity within the scope of their authority. And this section does not prohibit a court from issuing an order that is otherwise allowed by law. So your moral obligations can't be, I'm gonna hurt my child or lock them up or anything. Like your religious, I can't even remember their freaking names, Jody, Ruby, I think it's Jody Hildebrand, Ruby Frank. Your religion can't be used to abuse and lock up and tape up your children. I'll forever be on their ass. You got Utah changing their whole child abuse law so they can keep y'all locked up longer, because y'all could have had a parole hearing. Right now, I think it would have been February now. I think I pushed 2026. Yeah, well deserved.
Death to all of them.
Any attempt to encourage or coerce a minor to withhold information from the child's parents is grounds for discipline of an employee of the state, any political subdivision of the state, any other government entity, or any institution except for law enforcement personnel. So only the police can say, don't tell your parents this. Okay. Parents have inalienable rights that are more comprehensive than those listed in this section. So that's just the general gist. Other things you can think of, the parents have the rights. It probably most likely falls under that category. This chapter does not prescribe all rights of parents or preempt or foreclosure claims or remedies in support of parental rights that are available under the Constitution, statutes, or common law of this state. Unless otherwise required by law, the rights of parents of minor children shall not be limited or denied. Meaning they got all control over their child here in the state of Arizona. Now, this section was not added in until 2022. So all the section I had before, outside of that mental health part, was all the original Parental Bill of Rights in section 1-602. This section was added in 2022, just a few years ago. Except as prescribed in subsections F and G, which we'll get into, the state, a political subdivision of the state, or any other government entity, or any official of the state, a political subdivision of the state, or any other government entity acting under color of law shall not interfere with the fundamental rights of parents to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of their children. A parent may bring suit against... Let me pause. The good thing about this law is that culturally, in Arizona, there is white, Black, Mexican, Native American. Not in that order of greatest population to lowest. But it allows you to culturally have control over your child and do not have to have them be colonized. The Native Americans have their own schools and want to teach their children that way, they can. If you want to homeschool your children, you can. So that I'm not shitting on this law. Mental health care and healthcare always got me. But this law is great for Arizona because of all the cultural backgrounds that are in Arizona. So I do love the Parental Bill of Rights for that aspect. It's because, yes, your culture, you can raise your child to your culture. But for me, when it always comes to mental health care, I always got a little, we need that community. We need the checks and balances. We need checks and balances for mental and health care. Now, if you want your child to be strong, then go ahead. Education, I don't care. You know what? I wonder if that makes it so that children must still have some sort of education. If you decide on your child's education, how does the state make sure that child is still receiving some sort of education? That is my general question.
I need an answer ASAP.
Y'all know that answer. Let me know in the comments. Now, a parent may bring a suit against a governmental entity or official described in this subsection based on any violation of the statutory rights set forth in this chapter or any other action that interferes with or the fundamental right of parents to direct the upbringing, education, health care, and mental health of their children in the superior court in the county in which the violation or other action occurs or in federal court. If authorized by federal law or by the administrative tribunal of appropriate jurisdiction, a parent may raise a violation of this chapter as a claim or defense. So if the government starts to interfere on how they're raising their child or how they're doing things for their child, they can use this as a defense. Don't mean you're going to win, but the Parental Bill of Rights can be used as an adequate defense. Now we're getting into sections F and G. F, in any section under subsection E of this, the governmental entity or official described in subsection E of this section has the burden of proof to demonstrate both of the following. So the people above, if they are impeding within the mental health, the education, and etc. of the child, then they have to prove this. That the interference or usurpation is essential to accomplish a compelling government interest of the highest order, as long recognized in history and traditions of the state in the operation of its regulatory powers. The method of interference or usurpation used by the government is narrowly tailored. It is not otherwise served by a less restrictive means. So whatever government interference that they do have to do in case, that has to be the very minimum of interference you can do. So maybe the child, I don't know why I go to medical, but this is just my example that comes to mind. A child goes, they've been having a fever at school, they've been sick, all right? Parents say they're praying it away, okay? They're having their little rituals or doing whatever. Child's still sick. Maybe minimum intervention before taking them to the hospital is giving them a Tylenol, giving them a pill, giving them a little bit of medication before just taking them to a hospital because the parents are so against being at the hospital. I'm coming at religious people, but the scientist people too. Well, Scientology, I think that's part of religion, so same thing. But yeah, that's the most minute example I can think of. Don't rush them to the hospital, give them a Tylenol pill first. Least restrictive means for the government. Now, Section G is the other minute section that is being edited and having something added into it so far for this pending amendment in 2025. Now, a governmental entity or official described in subsection E of this section may interfere with or usurp, we're going to say usurp, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's usurp, the fundamental rights of parents to direct the upbringing, education, healthcare, and mental health of their children only if the government entity or official successfully demonstrates both elements described above. And usurpation is basically them just taking the right and power without having to go through anything. And we stepping in. So what they're doing is taking away their parental rights. If the government entity or official is unsuccessful, the court shall grant appropriate relief, such as a declaratory or injunctive relief, compensation and attorney fees, and that was not the words, but I know what they mean, based on the facts of the case and the laws as applied to the facts. This is the added section. If the court rewards compensation pursuant to this subsection, the total amount of the compensation award shall be at least $2,500 for each violation of this chapter. So if they can't prove the reason that they stepped in, or it was invalid enough for a reason and it violated the Parental Bill of Rights, $2,500 for each violation goes to the parent.
Makes sense to me.
That is the added section, is added in at that at least amount. Pending. Those two sections aren't set. So including mental health and the award of at least $2,500 for each violation are pending. They are not set. Everything else is set. It is part of the Parental Bill of Rights. For the purposes of this section, parent means the natural or adoptive parent or the legal guardian of the child. This includes the right to select the type of education the parent deems best for the child, including district, charter, private, homeschool, online, or through the Empowerment Scholarship Program. Okay. So they added that. They have that at the end. Remember, I was worried about the education, about how they choose to. They basically just listed out all the methods of education that you can do. And I'm pretty sure if they listed those out, there has to be some type of test or something in place to let them know that the child is actually doing some type of schooling. All right, so there are specific parental rights now based off the type of school they go to and different scenarios that the child may be in. So we're just gonna go through that. So if for district schools, in a district school, parents have the rights to opt their child out of any learning material or activity that the parent finds harmful to their child. This includes any material that questions their beliefs or practices. And this is when you start to not educate the child. Y'all, I'm so sorry about all that construction. I've been talking, I don't even know when it kicked in, but I'm sorry. It got loud. Now, my thing is, I don't understand how learning about another religion is actually, or learning about morality. Like, if anything against their beliefs, Arizona just gave the right basically for white kids to be taken out of learning about slavery. That is basically what that little thing is. It gives white parents the ability to take their children out of learning about the slavery and all the passing that their ancestors did and what they are currently doing to this day. I think some of them are very fearful of their children recognizing that they ain't shit as parents. They are really horrible parents, and that is why the checks and balances need to be in places for any of your more moral and religious views being pushed down onto a child. I can't think of much material that you need to opt a child out of when it comes to school. Opt their children out of any activity the parent deems objectionable because of the sexual content, violent content, or profane or vulgar language. By how much? Because if we're thinking, what is the book? 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 I'll never forget it. In my 7th grade class, Miss Pentecost, literature teacher, said nigga. And when she was reading this book, and we as these students had to correct her and said, absolutely not, you will not be saying that. And she stopped saying it. What is the book? What is the book? I can see that book being right there. Oh, with that word in it, I can't see my children. I don't want them reading it. Editing key will tell y'all if it does not randomly come to mind. I cannot believe I remember the name Fitch. I don't even think that's part of the book. Damn it. Editing key is gonna have to tell y'all.
The book is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Opt their child into sex education instruction if provided by the school district without written parental permission. Children cannot participate in sex education. My thing is, parents think if they don't tell children about sex, they just not gonna know about it. I don't think sexual education should be a choice. I don't care what your religion is. That is probably half the reason why so many STDs and stuff are going around now. Let me tell you about Utah, okay? Utah does this thing called floating because of their religion. Where they just have one person lay on top of the girl with the little thing at the entrance and then people at the bottom of the bed pushing it up.
I don't want to hear that. Because first of all, how do you know? How do you know that that's true? How do you know?
Y'all eliminating sexual education, y'all removing it, y'all trying to push our religious views does not stop children or adolescents from doing, I don't like saying children with that, does not stop adolescents from doing what they're going to do, from exploring. The youth are going to be the youth, regardless. You take it out of class, that's what makes things worse. Now you got that girl or guy that can easily be manipulated by somebody that actually is sexually educated, but they can tell that they're not. So they can tell them all types of foolishness. And now you wondering why your 16-year-old daughter, you didn't even allow in sex ed, is pregnant. Opt their child into surveys that solicit personal information from the child. I wonder if that's like for anonymous surveys or any. It's probably just any surveys, anonymous or anything like that. They don't want their children telling on them in surveys. Review any proposed sex education curriculum 60 days prior to its approval and also be notified at least 2 weeks before any instruction is offered. I don't see any problem with them seeing that. I feel like they should put that in there and take out the fact that they can opt out of sex ed. I think the parents should be able to review the material. It might become a headache for some of the ones that they're complaining about. But I feel like they should just be able to review the material. I don't think you should opt your children out of sexual education. Because sexual education is more than just humping. Okay? They're teaching you hygiene and health. Telling people to use wash rags. This construction is not letting up. Be notified in advance, given the opportunity to opt their child into any classes or presentations on sexuality in classes other than sex education, such as history or literature, inappropriate for the age of the student. If it's inappropriate for the age of the student, I don't think the schools would be presenting it. Am I correct? Not at a school. Just say you don't want your children hearing about gay people and possible LGBT communities and their rights and their fighting and things like that. Just say it. Just say it, because that's what y'all mean by sexuality. And I don't want my child learning about gay. They don't have to.
I lie.
One way to make students interested in learning and to make the education stick is sticking it into modern social experiences, things that they're experiencing socially and seeing socially. Y'all are trying to make school just so textbook. It doesn't work that way. You have to be able to apply. They have to be able to see how this applies to other things in the world for it to truly stick. But you can tell by a lot of these parents, they just want the children to only think that what is right in his and her world is the correct world. That's why these children end up getting punched in the mouth.
Be nice. I'm finding it.
When they get older, go to college, get slapped up, get something. Wondering why your child's bullied. Some of y'all don't even know the hell y'all put y'all child through because of your own ignorance. Because they get to the real world, even the skinned people that look like them will be talking about them, ready to fight them, etc. Especially with how things are going nowadays. So a lot of y'all, seems like Arizona allows parents to take the social experience out of school, and it's for what? You can always go home and have a conversation with your child after the presentations, after the sexual education classes, after the LGBT class, anything that's brought up. You can still talk to your child about it. You can talk about your child before. But just thinking that giving them the knowledge at a young age is just going to be the best thing for them in the future. One, they're going to find out the knowledge in the future. And two, it could have horrible consequences for them for just not knowing it. Now you mad your son and knocked up 3 little girls. And you don't know how that came. Because he didn't take sex ed, so how does he know about it? Did you take away the TV and the internet too? Take away his access to the library. Take away him being around friends. You take away him being able to go out to any social place and just hear people talk. So educate them. I also think that's another thing. If you're going to opt your child out of sex ed, you need to show the schools how you gave an alternative to teaching them something. It could even be, I don't care if you're preaching abstinence. You still need to tell them about the basic hygienes and things when it comes to sex. Because just because you say don't do it doesn't mean they're not going to do it. And a lot of them talk about the main stuff. They may still do other stuff, and you can still catch diseases and things from doing other things. They got to know. Even if your abstinence is just you're abstinent from this, you don't do this, that's sex too. That's sex too. You don't do any of that. They need to know. A lot of times parents are like, abstinence, just don't have sex. They don't even know what sex is. Or they may just have such a slim view of sex, they only see it this way and don't see all the other ways. And now your child's been manipulated into something.
I kind of feel sorry for you. Oh, yeah.
Opt your child out of instruction on the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS. AIDS is not only sexually transmitted. It can be other ways. And it comes from HIV. Why wouldn't you want your child to know about things like this? Shit, knowing things about this might even keep them more abstinent. If you're trying to keep them abstinent, you tell them about AIDS, they're like, hell no, my mom already told me don't touch people. No, I'm really not touching people.
The ghetto.
They can excuse their child from school attendance for religious purposes. I mean, hey, if you got a religious thing going on, I ain't got no problem with that. Be informed about the nature and purposes of extracurricular student clubs and activities. Access instructional materials and review courses of study, textbooks, and library books. My thing is, I'm gonna say this real quietly because people with kids get mad when people without kids say things that they're doing wrong. Why the fuck weren't y'all doing this anyway? When the child came home from school, you weren't looking at, you didn't look at the homework, you look at what they was reading? If it was already a concern for you as a parent, you would already be doing it.
I said what I said.
It's not like they don't take their textbooks home. And if they do, in the case, I'm pretty sure any school you requested to have the material from would not tell you no. Schools are never mad about a parent that is actively involved. I promise you, they're not. They may get a little annoyed with you. But they'll take the parents that are overly active than the ones that they can't even get an answer to a call when their child is hurt. So, I don't see that problem with that. Access all written electronic records of the school district concerning their child, including counseling and psychological records. And then boom, 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 that's where the transgenders right there put that Arizona outs the children. Is because of those psychological records that are available. Refuse to provide information for the student accountability information system that does not relate to the provision of educational services to the student. So they're like, we ain't got to have any extra social things if it's not about their education, and it doesn't need to be put in this. They could opt out of having them in the system. I don't see any problem with that. Now, for charter schools, that was district schools. I'm guessing that's public schools. For charter schools, they can opt a child out of any activity that the parent deems objectionable because of sexual content, violent content, or profane or vulgar language. We talked about that. So it's the same thing. They opt their child into any video, audio, same thing. This means the schools cannot show an R-rated movie to students under 18 without permission. Again, why would they be showing R-rated movies without permission? Even in high school, I had to get permission slip signed for certain movies. Why do we even have to say that? Why would you show a rated R movie to a person under 18 anyway? When a movie theater wouldn't even allow you without a parent or guardian. So we just had one teacher be like, I'm all y'all guardians for this movie. I don't remember a time it wasn't, but maybe Illinois always had a law in place. Because I don't remember a time where parents did not become notified. But then again, it's also one of them laws. You got to put it down, you know, common folk perspective. You still got to say it. For them people that try to play around it. Opt their child into sexual education instruction if provided by the charter school. Without written parental permission, children cannot participate in the instruction, same as for district schools. Same for the opt them into surveys. They can access all their written electronic records, same as the district schools. And the same, the proposing the sex education 60 days in advance and opt the child out of any classes for homosexuality, etc. All the same. So district and charter schools have these same thing. I'm surprised I didn't catch that. Oh, I think district schools have a little bit more. That's why I didn't catch all that. But for the most part, charters, so what does charters not have that district schools has? So I don't know if the charter schools have having a student accountability information system, but they can't refuse to provide the data to that. If they do, that's a difference. It doesn't say they don't have to be informed about the nature and purpose of extracurricular student clubs and activities. Maybe because charter schools, they have more of what they know their child is going to school for or what that charter school is about. So it's not more of a broad like how a public school will have. Doesn't say they can opt them out of anything for autoimmune. So it doesn't say opt them out for talk about AIDS. So I'm not seeing that. I'm also not seeing the religious or moral opt-out allowed for charter schools. Now, with the whole thing of, remember we talked about for district schools, they can opt them out, and for charter schools, opt them out for sexual content, violent content, profane or vulgar language. Charter schools can have the right to say, you waive all those rights at the very beginning of the school year. You don't opt your child out of anything. They come to the school to learn, and we will teach them in the way we best see fit. You don't come here not able to homeschool your child, then try to dictate how your child learns. Charter schools say, don't play with us. You come in here for a reason. We will push our curriculum. So charter schools do have that right to have them waive. Like you don't get to take them out of that because of profane language. You don't get to take them out of sexual content or violent. You don't get to take them out. I'm not mad at it. Honestly, they should have public schools do the same thing. You can't afford to put your child in private school. They go into the district schools with everyone else. They will learn and be multicultural competent. If you don't like it, homeschool them. Put them in a private school that better fits your needs. But public schools, you should not have the right to opt out of all of that. Especially being in a public school, you need to be multicultural competent. And it seems like it allows them to opt out anything that gives them multicultural competency. Now we're going to get into some parental rights in healthcare. Now that they require the written permission before a mental health screening is performed on a minor in a non-clinical setting. So outside of a doctor's office or a clinic. And like I said, what they're trying to amend is add in the parental rights, the mental health care. And this is probably wise because when a child actually goes into a mental health facility, they don't need permission to do any mental health screening on that youth. They can just do it. It requires written permission before any mental health treatment is performed on a minor unless it is an emergency. So I wonder how this will affect how the pending one is coming in. If you're allowing the parents to have rights over the mental health, will that affect for emergencies as well? What if the child is going to something because they feel like they have an emergency and they need the treatment, but the parents, their religious views, their moral views, and etc. is what's stopping the child from having that treatment? How does adding the mental health aspect into the parental bill of rights is going to affect the rights in healthcare and the kind of relief that the youth do have to get some treatment and not have to worry about their parents approving it or waiting on their parents to approve it? Because the parents be like, why are you getting it in the first place? Maybe they don't want to talk to you about why they're getting it. But they did talk to a professional who understands that they need it. And like I said, in a lot of those cases, the parents are the problems. The parents are the problems. All right? Requiring written parental consent before a physician or entity performs or seeks to perform surgical procedure on a minor. Yeah, don't do no fucking surgery on my child without asking unless it better be they coming from a car accident, train, something, and don't be doing shit on my child. Written consent before a minor donates blood. I've donated for the American Red Cross for a long time before I realized how effed up of people they are.
I ain't gonna lie, me too.
And I always wondered, because I was doing it in high school, did I have to parent my mom's consent when I first got it? 'Cause I think I started giving blood at 16. Outside of, it was only during fall. I couldn't do it in spring because of sports. I turned 18 in my senior year, so I know I could do it. I wonder if I needed my parents' permission in order to get the blood. I don't remember. Opting a minor out of immunizations at the beginning of the school year due to personal parents' beliefs, and that school should have the right to not allow your child in there if you don't want to take certain immunizations. Requiring notarized parental consent before a minor can have an abortion unless the minor obtains a court order. I don't like that one.
Video key was being way too nice. Okay, no. I would definitely want to know if my child was getting an abortion. And yes, they would have to give me permission. Okay. At first I was saying no because, you know, the parents that are pro-life, forcing their children to have children, even though the child doesn't want to or whatever, regards whether the child's getting put up for adoption or not. But I need to know, because there's other scenarios outside of just some little boy got you pregnant that could have happened. And if I got to go get some bail money, if I got to go get some bleach, I will. Okay, back to it.
Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments on that one. How do y'all feel about minors needing the permission for abortions? Let me know y'all thoughts. Now, on the CAP website, you know where the website I got all this from, the Center for Arizona Policy, they stated, unfortunately, parents' rights are undermined by 2 state laws that allow minors to consent to medical treatment without parental consent, and state law allows a minor to seek treatment for sexually transmitted diseases or substance abuse in an emergency situation without parental consent. And I think I saw that actually get knocked down originally back in 2024, 2023. They tried to make it that parents needed to seek permission for STD. No! If my child gets an STD, you don't have to tell me, go get the fucking treatment. If you are embarrassed, you know you shouldn't have been doing it, you don't want to hear my mouth, go get the treatment. Y'all gonna have children out here sitting with STDs because they refuse to tell their parents. And it's crazy now because STDs nowadays are like, they don't have symptoms as much as they used to. Why? Because nobody's getting tested and getting treated for it. Y'all just passing it around. And I found out that there's some people that when they're taking the STD medication, when they feel better, they stop taking it. That's not how that shit works. You're another reason there's super gonorrhea.
Stop acting like a fucking hooligan.
Because you thought you killed it all and it still lived in your body and fought off all that medication because you didn't finish it and then passed it on to the rest of the world. You know what another thing it is? I think people who don't use washcloths and you sharing a bar of soap with your family.
I ain't gonna lie, me too.
Y'all could be passing it around too on that same bar of soap, staying in that wet, warm environment, just holding on to that soap bar. Sitting down on public toilet seats. Yes, they're having crabs on public toilet seats. First of all, you nasty. You know you got crabs. Why you sitting on public toilet seats? Y'all couldn't keep a straight face after that one. Oh, I found that out in high school. And when I say, baby, ain't much you got to tell me to stay hygienic. But to not sit on the toilet, that was enough. That was enough. I remember we did a Petri dish experiment. And we were swiping toilets and the amount of bacteria that was just on a high school toilet. No toilet was on public toilets. But I don't see a problem with that. Go get the treatment for it, okay? They need medical treatment. Go get the medical treatment, okay? If they need substance abuse treatment, go get the treatment. These are 3 situations where I feel like the parent should be happy the child is just trying to get some help. Am I wrong?
Makes sense to me.
I mean, it's going to be billed to my insurance. I'm going to see it anyway. And I'll ask you about it later. But if you got to work up and spend 5 days trying to tell me you got an STD before you get the treatment when you would have got the treatment 5 days ago, go get the fucking treatment. Unless you pay for it out of pocket and it never runs through my insurance card. But And I might have a talk about it. I'm like, why you wasting money to that aspect? I pay all this money for fucking insurance. Why are we wasting money? That's going to be my first thing coming up. They going to think I'm talking. I'm like, about this STD thing. Why I found out you ain't used the insurance card and it didn't cover the treatment? You rather use the credit card I gave you. Because they pay with cash. But it's just, those are 3 things, man. If my child needs it, get it. And if you have that good communication with your child, and you don't, you can't always be mad at your child for every mistake you made, and 2, you can't always see your child as perfect. Those are 2 different types of parents that will never get their children to talk to them about things. You see your child is perfect, that's another reason for them to sneak off and do it, so you won't be disappointed and mad at them. You need to let them know that you still love them unconditionally, even with mistakes. And the people that's always doing everything wrong, and they saying you need to stop downing your child for not being perfect. Nobody is perfect. You need to let them know, hey, you won't get everything right, but there are things you do that you always get right. Now let's get into the father rights. Okay, and we're going to read this news release that came out after the Arizona Supreme Court ruled on this case, February 7, 2025, okay? In a unanimous decision authored by Justice Clint Bolick, I'll put his picture here, the Arizona Supreme Court in re termination of parental rights as to MN today clarified that 2 district statutory mechanisms exist for unwed fathers to establish parental rights. One for potential fathers and another one for putative fathers. And I'll get into those definitions. And that the fathers satisfying these requirements for the first classifications do not have to satisfy the requirements for the second. So if you're a potential father, you don't have to be a putative father. If you're a putative father, you don't have to be a potential father, and etc. Arizona law provides 2 ways for unwed fathers to establish parental rights. One is Arizona revised statutes, the potential father statute, which requires mothers to identify all potential fathers of her child who may in turn file paternity action and object to an adoption. The next is putative father statute, allows fathers to file with the putative father's registry, and failure to file results in a waiver of parental rights. In this case, mother initially identified, in this case that happened with the Supreme Court, what this woman did was said that the father of her child was her current boyfriend. And they went and had a private adoption. The actual father came in and was like, whoa, hold up. I need a DNA test. That is my child, and I want my child. I want my child. I do not want my child for adoption. And they denied it because the mother said that the boyfriend was the father. Bullshit.
That is so stupid.
Bullshit. You have a man coming to claim a child. That should have been enough to get that man a DNA test for that child. Eventually, the woman got around and identified that, hey, yes, he is a potential father. She admitted, yeah, I cheated on you to the guy. Because that's what it is. It's your pride. And if y'all have never listened to a song that tells you about how affected a child can be about not having a parent in their life, specifically a father, because the mother are doing stupid shit. Because in my experiences, yes, there has been a lot of fathers doing shit, but there has been a lot of mothers doing stupid shit that keeps the relationship between the mother, the child, and the father, okay, separate. Outside of what the government has done with the welfare benefits, saying, hey, black woman, don't let the father in the house, and then bam, you can get welfare benefits from us, but you can't have a father in the house. Outside of that, that's just crazy.
Hey y'all, editing key. Whole time I never told y'all the song. The song is Like Him by Tyler, the Creator. Go listen.
I know a situation where a mother had a child waiting for their father all the time. Never went and told the children until the children were adults that, oh, well, actually, I knew he was never coming because the boyfriend I was with at the time made me put a restraining order on him. So she had them kids sitting up waiting for their dad all that time, knowing he wouldn't come because of stupid shit that she did that a boyfriend told her to do. Yes, I know plenty of situations. I know about deadbeat fathers, but I know about ain't shit mothers too. I know about the mothers who they can't put their pride to a side. And I'm only getting on the mothers because we get on the fathers enough. We do. We talk about the fathers every day. But there are some mothers out here literally preventing relationships with fathers that want to be there. And eventually, I wonder if the mother broke up with the boyfriend. I wonder if he kept pounding her. I wonder if the other guy was like, no, here's evidence of her cheating on you. I want my DNA test. He probably had to go through all that because she was trying to hide the fact that she cheated. And this is just allegedly. I don't know the real situation, but this is just what I'm thinking happened. You cheated and tried to hide it, so you was going to deny this man a blood test. However, the court still terminated his parental rights because he failed to file a notice of claim of paternity with the putative father registry. This man lost his child because some cheating woman did not want to admit that he could be the father. I'd be livid. Oh, as a father, I would make your life a living hell. You wouldn't even know it's me, but every time you failing in life and you can't seem to get up, that relationship, just know I was in the background ruining your life because you didn't gave my child away. The Arizona Supreme Court held that if a father complies with the statute for potential fathers, he does not need to also file a notice with the putative father registry, okay? And he's satisfied for the potential fathers. The court noted that the potential fathers and putative fathers statutory classifications were adopted at different times and involved different rights and responsibilities. This decision is important because it recognized that although the statutes are intended to protect the integrity and finality of adoptions, that was the whole point of it, they should not be construed to deprive fathers of their statutory or constitutional rights. So they're basically saying, hey, just because he wasn't signed up at the time doesn't mean that y'all can't allow him to get a blood test. So long as the father fulfilled the obligations of either the potential father statute or putative father statutes, both interests are protected. The case has been returned to the trial court to reminder other issues that were not resolved. So when we have an update on that, I'll let y'all know. I will definitely update y'all on whether this father received his rights back. I don't even feel like it should be a question. I feel like even as the adoption family, I know it hurts. I know it hurts. And I probably know you probably was paying this woman hella money to make sure she was good, taking her to medical appointments, paying rent, paying for groceries. But y'all should know as people who want to be parents not to take a child from another parent. It's crazy that this man is going to have to go through all this to get his child back. When before the adoption, he tried to say, hey, that's my child. Sheesh. But that is the end of the news release and what starts off this father's rights section. Now, with a little bit of details about the putative father registry. Claims of paternity and adoptive interest. This is section 8-106.01. A person who is seeking paternity, who wants to receive notice of adoption proceedings in or who is the father or claims to be the father of the child, shall file notice of claim of paternity and of his willingness and intent to support the child to the best of his ability with the State Register of Viral Statistics in the Department of Health Services. Department of Health Services shall provide forms for the purpose of filing the notice of claim of paternity. Forms shall be made available for the Department of Health Services. The Office of the Clerk has the Board of Supervisors in each county, every hospital, every licensed child placement agency, the Department of Economic Security, Department of Child Safety, Sheriff's Office, jails, prisons, State Department of Corrections Facilities, and Department of Juvenile Correction Facilities. Why do you have to all do all this to seek paternity if you are the father? Okay, never mind, because this isn't the claims of adoptions. I just figured that out myself. The mother's already saying she can't do it. They just want to make sure that the father actually can, which, I mean, yes, I get it, but is it the father's fault if she didn't tell him for 9 months that she was pregnant?
Hey, y'all, I just want to also add in this section that it still gives the mother a little bit more power over the father, because how many situations do we know where children are born into just lower socioeconomic or just not the best situation, parents on drugs and all kinds of things, but the government isn't there to try to like take the child or tell them, oh, you can't have the child because you're not sustaining up to this level. I just think it's a little bit of like, we don't make everybody have to prove that they have the capabilities and the finances and etc. to have their child that they're having. So why do the fathers have to go through it? I would really like to know the criteria that the fathers have to fulfill in order to stop the adoption.
The notice of claim of paternity may be filed before the birth of the child, but shall be filed within 30 days after the birth of the child. The notice of claim of paternity shall be signed by the putative father and shall include his name, address, the name and last known address of the birth mother, either the date of the birth of the child or the proper month and year of the expected birth of the child. So this, I guess, is for if any mother decides to ghost, or I'm not dealing with you. No, you can't be in the child's life. I like this. They can be like, well, I know she's pregnant, so this has been around the time she would have been born. This is her name. And hopefully if you're fucking on somebody, at least know their name and date of birth. At least a month. You know? You should. And even if it's after, like, y'all finish doing it, and you be like, hey, what's your full name? You should know that person's name, okay?
Makes sense to me.
The putative father who files a notice of claim of paternity under this section shall notify the Register of Vital Statistics of any charge of this address. The Department of Health Services shall maintain a confidential registry for this purpose. The department shall only respond to written inquiries of the confidential registry that are received from the court, the division, a licensed adoption agency, or a licensed attorney participating or assisting in a direct placement adoption. The department shall provide a certificate signed by the State Register of Vital Statistics stating that a diligent search that has been made of the registry of notices of claims of paternity from putative fathers listings all filings found or stating that no filing has been found pertaining to the father of child in question. Now, outside of just the case we know, how many women in Arizona were out here getting pregnant, not telling the man, or the man knowing, just giving up the baby? Or was this a case where it happened once in Arizona, was, woo, we cannot let this happen again? And it just happened to be one public because the man is really, really fighting for his child. Hell, he could be a man that was been waiting all his life. Probably never wanted to have to be with a woman. Just wanted a child and now he has the opportunity. This could be a man who's been waiting for kids. Has the means. Men really just be having extra money. And we know it's because they get paid more. That's why I say, ladies, make them pay for dates. Make them pay for everything. If they're going to pay men more than they can pay to take us out and have a good time. Anyway, if the court determines the claimant is not the child's father, it shall notify the Department of Health Services and shall order the department to remove the person's name from the putative father's registry. If the mother denies that the putative father filing the notice of a claim of paternity is the father, the Department of Health Services shall notify the putative father of his responsibility to establish paternity. So take that DNA test. A putative father who does not file a notice of claim of paternity as required under this section waives his rights to be notified of any judicial hearing regarding the child's adoption, and his consent to the adoption is not required unless he proves by clear and convincing evidence both of the following. It was not possible for him to file a notice of claim of paternity within the period of time specified. He filed a notice of claim of paternity within 30 days after it became possible for him to file. I think this is a real, a well-written father's rights thing. I feel like it covers all areas that needs to be covered if the father truly does want their rights for the children. All right? Lack of knowledge of the pregnancy is not an acceptable reason for failure to file. What?
When you hear yourself say that, does that sound like it makes sense?
Does it sound like he makes sense?
Bullshit, Arizona. Take that out. Take that out. The fact that the putative father had sexual intercourse with the mother is deemed to be noticed to be putative father of the pregnancy. So every guy or girl that he has sex with, he's supposed to just register his name on the registry for it. Oh, y'all better keep a little black book. Have all their names and numbers, and as soon as you do it, add them to the registry. They said you having sex with her is enough to know if you should be the father. I think they need to take out that whole little part. Well, maybe, you know, she's more free-spirited and she doesn't know. So she doesn't know who to tell. She don't want to tell 20 different men. Okay, I can see it in that case. Okay, I can definitely see it in that case. Or she don't remember their names or remember their numbers or remember etc. Okay, I get it, Arizona. You can lack off a little bit. You can take off that lack of pregnancy thing. Lack of knowing about pregnancy. It should be a little bit of something. When a certificate provided pursuant to the subsection B of this section is received by the court, the subdivision, a licensed adoption agency, or a licensed attorney participating or assisting in a direct placement adoption from the department that lists filings of putative fathers, the putative father or fathers who filed timely notices of claims of paternity who have not been previously served shall be served with the notice described in section 8-106. A putative father who fails to file a paternity action within 30 days of completion of service of the notice prescribed is barred from bringing or maintaining any action or asserts in any interest of the child. So you don't get any rights. If any adoption proceeding, there is not a showing that a putative father has consented to the adoption or has waived his rights regarding the proposed adoption, the petitioner shall file with the court before the court enters the final decree of adoption a certificate from the Department of Health Services signed by the State Register of Vital Statistics stating a diligent search has been made of the registry of notices of claims of paternity from putative fathers and that no filing has been found pertaining to the father of the child in question. Okay, and that is our father rights section. I liked it. Hell, y'all might get to the point your mama start keeping a book. Like, what that little girl name? Oh. And she registering you on the registry. I wouldn't be surprised if that starts happening with some people. But y'all, that brings us to the end of the video of the parental rights in Arizona. Don't forget to like this video or dislike it if you didn't like anything I was saying. All right, let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know what y'all think specifically on the mental health care. Let me know what y'all think on the father's rights. Do you think if anything could be added? Okay, I don't think anything needs to be taken away from this. I think it's a really good law for paternal rights if you want to have the child. But that's all I have. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
For me, work for me, work that body for me.